This video contains a range of useful tips and information in relation to dog bites and dog safety. Now, it's a longer video, and I make no apologies for that. It's a longer video because dog bites and dog safety are a complex subject which deals with the interaction between two living, breathing, thinking beings, namely dogs and humans. This video is not a comprehensive list of considerations and information, nor is it a step-by-step tutorial, but the information contained within is accurate and useful and actionable in your life. If it's necessary, please bookmark the video and come back and watch it in pieces so that you can get right through it. Please share this video with those that you care about and those that you think would benefit from it. Together, it's my hope that we can stimulate a more productive conversation, a more intelligent conversation about how we can mitigate the risk of having dogs in our lives as a community. Once again, dog bites dominate our headlines. Unfortunately, that's due to a number of incidents involving children and at least one fatality. I've been monitoring the media focus on this area quite diligently, and I've got to say that I'm shocked, dismayed and deeply concerned about some of the messages that are being shared, both on television and in social media. A very small percentage of the information which has been offered has been of any real use to the public, and the majority of the offered information has either contained little actionable content or actually represents a significant risk to those that choose to action that information. The public is being potentially put in danger and disempowered when they are subjected to poor quality information relating to human-dog interactions, dog encounters and aggressive dog encounters. So with this being the case, I feel compelled to speak up and do what I can to put the record straight, put some good information out there into the community. Somebody in a position of authority needs to present some sound information and some sound practices for the benefit of our communities and for our dogs, and do what we can to move away from some of these problematic and less than useful messages which have been shared. My name is Brad Griggs, and since 2011, I've been training local government, first responders, corporations and businesses, as well as private citizens, on how to do what they can to maintain control during dog encounters, as well as how to increase their survivability and reduce the severity or occurrence of injuries in worst case scenarios. Now, we do this in a paid capacity through my business, Canine Services International. We also do this through an arrangement with a not-for-profit that provides scholarships to the program for law enforcement and first responders. To date, we've trained over 3,500 people across every state of Australia from a wide variety of vocational and specialist interest groups. And our programs are so popular because they're the result of broad collaboration with what I call the Brains Trust. It's a large group of consultants and industry allies, including psychologists, neuropsychologists, tactical operators, canine handlers, veterinarians, animal management officers, canine behaviour experts, and the list goes on. So in line with my conscience as a human being and as a responsible professional, I'm sharing this message with you today gratis. My intent is to offer credible information which provides a tangible advantage to those that pay attention to this message. Beyond my intention, my hope is that this material empowers you to make safer, more informed decisions about how you act during critical incidents involving dog encounters. I hope that you gain tremendous value from the information that's shared in the following video, guys. And should any of you wish to seek further training, you can reach out to us via the details provided. We're more than happy to begin that conversation with you. During any kind of dog encounter, especially with aggressive dogs, Your continued awareness of both the dog and the environment are absolutely pivotal if you wish to remain as safe as possible. If you take your eyes off the dog at any stage, what that does is it robs you of the ability to read, adapt, and respond to any changes in the dog's behaviour. Your environment will often offer you advantages which you can leverage during a dog encounter in order to remain safer. Things such as jumping onto a car roof or a car bonnet, jumping into a body of water like a swimming pool, objects such as brooms and bins and bicycles, which you can keep between yourself and the dog and make it difficult for the dog to bite you. Now, even though you shouldn't take your eyes off the dog, you shouldn't stare directly at the dog. And what this means is that you need to train your brain not to directly stare at the dog, but rather turn your eyes, along with the rest of your body, off and keep the dog in your field of view still. Along with turning your eyes along with the rest of your body on an angle in order for you to present less of an aggressive picture to the dog, you want to keep your limbs in closer to your centre line and don't flail your hands about. What they do is provide targets of opportunity for a dog, and being grabbed on the hands, it's a devastating injury and it's very, very easy to be pulled off balance. Now, if you do have anything at all that you can offer in your hands for a lunging dog to bite at, then go ahead and offer that, even if it's only your shirt as the dog lunges in. Encourage the dog to bite that and hold on to that because it's far preferable to the dog biting your flesh. Now, in a high-stress situation, it'll be almost impossible for you to look away from the dog. However, you should be mentally rehearsing, averting your gaze, as we've mentioned earlier. Now, an absolute no-no during an encounter with a dog, especially an aggressive dog, is to turn your back on that dog. If you do need to walk away from the dog, what you need to do is walk backwards in a slow and controlled manner so that you can still see and respond to that dog's behaviour. And it doesn't matter whether the dog was aggressive and now is not, or it doesn't matter if you think that that dog is now calm and unlikely to attack you. You need to play it safe and you need to act in a fashion that keeps you as safe as possible. Follow those tips and it will stand you in much better stead. If you are bitten by a dog, it's important to understand that your instinctive responses are overwhelmingly unlikely to be helpful to you at that time. You need to decide well in advance, program your mind for how you will respond at such a time, and you need to maintain that plan. If this happens, do all that you can to remain silent and still whilst being bitten, which can be easier said than done. But struggle can and likely will reward the dog for its efforts to some degree, and possibly even reinforce for that dog the need for him to continue to act aggressively. Screaming and yelling has a similar effect, can bring further arousal into a dog's behaviour, and offers a form of reinforcement to the dog. For dogs experienced at biting people, the screaming and the yelling is often a very predictable outcome, which helps to allow him to know that his behaviour is having the desired effect. As an adult, do what you can to remain on your feet during a dog encounter. Do not automatically drop to the ground. This may encourage some very bold behaviour from the dog, much more intense aggression. Never turn your back towards a dog whilst you are being bitten. This movement has potential to offer profound reward to a dog, make him feel very powerful, as well as robbing you from the ability to respond to the dog's behaviour should it shift or change. Should you find yourself on the ground, recognise that you are at a significant disadvantage and be sure to cover up and remain as still and silent as possible during the attack to avoid stimulating further aggressive or predatory behaviour from the dog. We'll provide you with a video example of this elsewhere in this presentation. In this video, we can see that the direction of the head is going to turn at 45 degrees. like that. It's going to be followed by the shoulders, the hips and the feet, leading with the eyes. Turning off at 45 degrees, shoulders, hips and feet follow. The eyes are still keeping the dog in the field of vision. The elbows are kept close to the body to remove targets of opportunity, as are the hands, and if you need to create distance, step backwards, keeping the dog in your field of view. Here we show how to take a protective position on the ground. Close your hands, make them fists, put them over each ear. With your elbows, bring them forward and together as you push your chin down onto your chest. Push your elbows down to meet your knees and bring your feet up towards your butt, pressing your legs and your feet together all the time. Always supervise your children, even if they're only interacting with your dog, but supervise any interaction. Now, it's super important that you understand that adequate supervision of a child and a dog involves the following factors, without exception. Adequate supervision means that you have eyes on the interaction, constantly monitoring that interaction for changes which may require your intervention. You need to be close to the interaction. Your proximity to that interaction is important because you need to be able to act swiftly. You also need an appropriate relationship with the dog whose interaction with your child you are supervising. And if you don't have the willingness, attitude or aptitude to be able to immediately act, to physically intervene should an interaction become concerning to you, then your child should not be interacting with that dog, period. Now, if your child is playing at a friend's house, have a conversation with the family and the parents and make sure that that dog is physically restricted in a significant way from that play area where your child will be by at least 2 barriers. Teach your child to never pat a dog unless you are physically present at the time and they have received both your permission and the permission of the owner. Of course, apply all the lessons about appropriate supervision that we've shared elsewhere in this video message. And never hesitate to end the interaction between the child and the dog if you get even an inkling that something isn't right. Even if it's just that you are not sure how to interpret that dog's behaviour, end that interaction there. You can always revisit it later if you feel differently about it. But remember, apply the rules about adequate supervision. Very important. If at any stage your child feels unsure or scared around a dog, teach and reinforce to them that they must not squeal, run, scream, or dance around. The message for children in this case must be for them to remain very still, fold their arms in close to their body, and breathe deeply in order to help them to remain calm, even if the dog bumps or pushes them. By doing this, the child themselves avoids exhibiting a number of behaviours that are likely to further arouse the dog or offer the dog reward for its actions. If your child is knocked to the ground, teach them how to effectively curl into a ball as described elsewhere in this video message. Again, the message for children must be that they should be heavily encouraged to remain still and silent in a situation involving a dog behaving inappropriately for the reasons mentioned earlier. I thoroughly suggest that you drill these aspects with your child, ideally in a fun way. Make sure that they're very familiar with them. That way, in a critical situation, the child is much more likely to remember the lesson, to retain the information, and to be able to apply it. Pulling your child away from a dog whilst that dog has hold of your child's flesh can cause further ripping, tearing, and damage. The most efficient focus should be on controlling the dog first to prevent further damage and to end the situation as quickly as possible. Straddling the dog, facing in the same direction as the dog, helps you to prevent lateral movement of the dog. Controlling the dog's head in order to prevent further shaking and pulling is also a wise strategy, but can be much easier to offer as advice than it can be in reality. Prying the jaws of the dog open with your bare hands is something that we see people try and do a lot. Unfortunately, it's typically ineffective, and it can prevent you from taking more effective action if your hands are badly torn up and not able to be used. Taking away the dog's air or restricting the blood flow to its brain is a tried and effective way of controlling that situation. And a leash, a collar, a belt, even a rolled up t-shirt can be used to do this. Enlist help from bystanders if they are there and you're fortunate enough to have them, so that they can remove your child from that situation the moment that the dog loses its interest, releases its grip, or perhaps even turns to attack you. And guys, you need to understand that is a likely scenario. If you get involved in fighting a dog that is involved in that level of aggression, committing a sustained attack on a child, it's very, very likely that you will become badly injured. You should assume that you would be. When we're dealing with situations like this, you have to understand that there are often no easy options. We are simply left choosing which bad outcome we would prefer.